let it pass. Hey there, how are you?
I am doing well, sir. How are you?
I am super fine.
All
for
right.
an old fella.
All right.
Now, tell me what's going on. You are now a politician. You have been an educator. You are a grandma many times over. You're a wife. You are all of those things. Where are you today?
I am all of those things. I'm still not wearing the label politician well. Public servant fits me better. I like that better. But I suppose I can adapt to politician. I've been in office now since November. I'm still learning lots of things every day. I am adjusting to being in that seat. When I first ran, there was the possibility that we might have the first all-female mayor and council. However, that didn't pan out, and so I sit as the lone woman on the council. But so far, it has been a good experience.
Now, I bet you, with your experience, that does not intimidate.
Not at all. Not one bit.
Okay. So I take it you're holding your ground.
I'm doing the best I can. I've already had to be a lone vote on an issue, and I'm okay with that.
Well, I tell you what, it matters inside of you how you feel about stuff.
It absolutely does.
You know, so if you're the lone vote and you feel good inside about it, well then that has been accomplished, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was voting in alignment with what I felt and what my constituents felt.
Right. Okay. Do you have any regret?
Not yet. I'm generally one who doesn't deal with regrets too well. I look at everything sometimes that looks like a problem or stumbling block as an opportunity for growth, and that's what I try to use them as. So, no regrets.
Very good. Where are we headed as a city?
I feel in my spirit that we are headed in a good direction. I feel like this is Tuskegee's time. It's her season.
I believe that.
I feel like we have been on the cusp before, but I think right now we are in a position to move the handle forward, to chart a new trajectory, if you will. And I'm really hopeful and optimistic about that.
Well, you know, as a politician, sometimes you're darned if you do and you're darned if you don't. But where does the people stand in your district who are being aware of what they want, what they need, what they're going to demand versus what they're going to just take?
Well, you know, that's a very good question, because one of the things that I ran on was to create an engaged citizenry, because without that you can't do much. And so far we've had a district meeting every month since November. The participation is not what I hope it would be, but those people who are engaged are very engaged. They're very aware. They are constantly calling me and emailing me about things that they want to see done. But I think that as a whole, this city has not done what I talked about when I ran, and that is to come together and create a collective vision for where we want to go. Because I know, and you know, and we all know, that if you don't have a vision of where you're trying to go, any old road will deter you from whatever. And I think that's what has been a problem for us for a long time. We don't have a unified vision of what kind of city we want to be and what kind of things we want to attract that are in alignment with that vision.
Now, I know your heart is with the children, and we pretty much both know what old folks think. What is your hope for the children? What do you say to the children about the future of their city?
You know, that's one of the, I think, heartbreaking things for me. I was talking to somebody the other day, I think it was one of my classmates. There are probably only, I'm 67 years old. They're probably only a few generations behind me, maybe one, if we're good, two. People who remember Tuskegee when it was Tuskegee. And so there are whole generations of children who have never known a vibrant, viable community. And so we have to reinstill in them, first of all, the history. We talk about it, but we don't really teach it to our children like we should. So the history and the legacy that they stand on, that's key. But also, there's this term called Afrofuturism. We've got to get them to thinking not just about what they see with their eyes when they walk up and down the streets or drive up and down the streets, but what's possible. We've got to inspire in them the fact that what you see doesn't have to be what is in the next 10 years. You can help create the kind of community you want to see.
Absolutely. Now, what do you say to the old folk? Because I know that we are missing our boat because we are not really paying attention. We're not really applying ourselves. We're not really constructively criticizing and helping to promote futuristic ideas and options. What do you say to us? What do we need to do as
well, the first thing that comes to my mind is the scripture, don't get weary of well-doing. I know we're tired. I know we've seen a lot of things happen. I know we are despondent sometimes. But it's springtime. I was just walking around looking at all the beauty that someone has been inspired to create out here. So this is a season of new beginnings and new births. So I say to the elders, don't get weary in well-doing. And to remember that to whom much is given, much is required. And so God has blessed us. God has given us longevity. He's given us grace. And so we need to use that to cast down our buckets once more and reinvest in the next generations. And to speak to those people out there who are a part of us, who don't live here anymore. I call them the Tuskegee diaspora. But to re-engage them in reinvesting in this sacred ground.
Now the national turmoil, mess, politicians, lying, exaggerations, deceptions, are those things happen to inspire any participation and change in our city, or is that just passing us by?
Well, hopefully we are looking at what's happening on a national scale and realizing that we don't live in a vacuum. That what happens in Washington trickles down to us in some way, shape, or form. You look at your state legislatures, you look at, even what we do locally, it matters. And so I'm hoping that people are looking at what's happening on the national scene and realizing that we're not immune. I know sometimes we're in this little bubble called Tuskegee and we think we are immune from things. But what we see happening in the terms of the resurgence of white supremacy, the resurgence of voter suppression, all of those things impact us too. And so we have to be concerned about them.
So how do we get people stirred up and drawn into the mix of really being concerned? What do you suggest?
That's a good question. I think, one-on-one conversation, little group conversations. We've had a wonderful opportunity during this pandemic to reconnect in a way that we haven't connected before through this wonderful vehicle called Zoom. And I have heard some remarkable community conversations from other places in the country that I've tuned into. We need to talk to each other more in this community. We need to figure out, why we got these silos that we operate in, and we think that's okay. And so I would love to see more deliberative dialogue. I would love to see more interaction around topics of importance. And I think that's one way to begin to create a sense of connectedness, first of all, but also there is this as Martin King said, the fierce urgency of now. We have to grasp this moment.
Now, this pandemic, in my view anyhow, is not all bad. Because I have seen it generate the communications among the leaders of this community, meeting that I see you at every Saturday that God sent. And that is a part of that possible growth and development that I hear you alluding to from the beginning, right?
You are absolutely correct. I had an aunt, bless her soul, she used to always say it's an ill wind that blows no good at all. And so you're right, the pandemic has, first of all, it's laid bare all of the things that we knew were happening anyway. But it has caused us to realize that ain't nobody coming to save us, and we've got to save ourselves. And so we have, as a community, created the task force. We have begun to put things in place that will help us to help ourselves during this time. So I don't think that would have happened outside of that. There's this collaboration now between community citizens and the university that is unlike anything I've seen in the last 30, 40 years.
It reflects back on that town gown thing that used to happen during graduations when everybody brought that wagons and horses and everything else and camped out. Right?
We're getting back to that place.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something really exciting. I've been working with the Robert R. Taylor School of Architecture at Tuskegee University with District 1 and doing some planning and some futuristic kind of thinking. And I was on 2 Zoom calls last week with 2 different professors, Kwesi Daniels, Dr. Kwesi Daniels, and Professor Ama Amsamwa. Both of their classes have taken on projects directly related to helping this community be better. And it was absolutely amazing. Those young people put their heart, their talent, their innovation, all of that into their projects. And I was just blown away. So that's where you get to envision the possibilities by working with young people who have the talent, who have the desire to cast down their buckets, at least for a season, in this place called Tuskegee.
What were those young people's sense of appreciation for being involved with that kind of project?
I think that they understand that that is in direct alignment with the vision and mission of Booker T. Washington and Lewis Adams. Tuskegee has always been, it goes back even to the Jessup wagon and Dr. Carver. We've always been a school that was in lockstep with making the community around it better. And so they know in their spirit, in their heart, in their soul, that they are doing what the mission of their school requires of them by working with the community.
Okay. Well, I sure am glad that you see hope, and I believe I hear in your articulation hope, right?
And without it, where would we be?
Okay. I pray for more progress. Now, did you notice what has happened up there? So, we were talking about the statue that somehow
the head
has popped up
again,
out of the cover.
Again.
And he's shining his ugly spirit over this city again. So now that's an indication to me, the statue, that we've got to make the next move on that to get that statue out of
Well, from what I can gather, the county is in the process of possibly going into litigation with the Daughters of the Confederacy. And we'll see where that leads us. But one way or another, I am convinced that will be moved from the center of this county in my lifetime.
I hope and pray so, because I think it has a subliminal and psychological negative impact on this community.
It absolutely does. That's why it's there.
Spirit. Yeah, it's in spirit, and it doesn't talk to you, and it doesn't reach out to you, but it's just there.
It's there, and it's there by design, just because of what you said. The people who create symbols, they understand the impact that it has. on the human psyche. So that is why it's there. The daughters don't live here. They're not here, but they understand the impact that that has. It's not about their love for their ancestral legacy, because if it was, it wouldn't matter where it stood. It could go and stand over in their cemetery, and it would still have the same value to them. But if it's right here in the seat of this historic black town, that's a message, a clear message, in my opinion, that white supremacy still rules.
Absolutely.
And it will be moved.
Absolutely. Now, the Tuskegee Airmen were about fight, fight, fight. You hear that in Councilwoman Norma Jackson.
You absolutely do.
All right.
Until my dying breath.
All right. And then you just fight on.
Good talking to you, Chief.
Yes, ma'am.